Okay, so you've gotten the first part taken care of. You're ready to move on to the second part. So whether you had to resolve something or you were already ready to step into this spot, hopefully at this point in your journey, you are now sufficiently motivated to seek the Lord. Now the next step is to begin to carve out time. A lot of times people want to move into quality first rather than quantity. I don't want to just sit here for 10 minutes attempting to pray and I don't feel connected to the Lord and I don't feel like anything's happening. And the problem is you don't get to the quality without the quantity. It's like that in relationships. You don't get a closely bonded relationship without spending a lot of time with that person first. And the same kind of thing works with the Lord. And we need to remember or think of it that way. Prayer is a relationship with a person. He's not a human being, he's God, but he is a person who has desires, wants, interests, a will, feelings, all of those things God has, and we have the opportunity to form this relationship with him, and it comes by spending time with him. Now, here's where I would suggest you start. Now, you can decide to start with a larger amount, but I would suggest starting with a small amount because you might be surprised how many obstacles there are that get in the way of you spending a fixed amount of time praying. Could be 30 minutes. Maybe you want to start with 30 minutes, but again, you'd be surprised at how infrequently you manage to achieve spending 30 minutes in prayer. Not that we shouldn't work to get to that point, but I think that it's best to start with a small amount and start making the adjustments that are necessary as you do that. So our next step in developing our prayer life is to spend 5 minutes every day praying and seeking the Lord. Some of the things that are going to get in the way likely. So I would encourage you to try it for a week and see if you discover that these are the things that are getting in the way for you, or see if you discover other things that are hindering you. But a couple of things that will likely get in the way is this belief that, well, I pray throughout the day, and so I don't need a fixed time. Besides, if I make a fixed time, then that means I'm not praying without ceasing, that idea in 1 Thessalonians. That means I'm not praying at all times, and so I'm disobeying God by making a fixed time. And we got to understand what we're actually doing here. We're not saying we can't pray throughout the day. Just saying that I think a lot of times when people say, I pray throughout the day, what that means is when I think about it, I pray. And I bet that if they were to time themselves, the amount of time they're actually spending praying, especially once we start looking into the quality of our prayer life, the quality of that prayer time with the Lord is likely lacking significantly in both of those things, quantity as well as quality. And so don't think of it as I'm restricting myself to these 5 minutes. Think of it as I'm making sure I'm spending 5 minutes focused on seeking the Lord, and I'll work on improving that. So again, don't try to hit the home run right away. Let's start small. So another thing that you might see showing